My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiaga. Thank you very much for making time for yet another episode. We do appreciate all the time that you spent with us here throughout the show. You can actually get to catch some of the episodes that you've not watched on our YouTube channel, that Lookuptv. But for the sake of this introduction, I want to introduce a particular company, Schneider Electric. We leave it there, and we do have the head of industry business. It's going to explain what that is in as much as the energy sector is concerned. For now, I'll call him Frank. So Frank,
thanks, Simba.
Welcome to the CEO.
Thank you so much.
Here's the thing. I'm just going to refer you as Frank,
that's fine.
But I know you're not Frank. Now, for the sake of our audience, could you give us your full name?
Okay, so pleasure, and it's a pleasure to be here. My name's Frank Moy. Kirui is my third name. Pleasure to be here on this show today.
Happy to have you around.
Thank you very much.
Now, I just want to break it like this.
Yeah.
I know you're in the energy sector.
Yes.
Fine. We're going to talk about Schneider Electric.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
But let's talk about this particular title.
Okay.
Industry business head.
Yes.
Quite interesting. What does that entail? What does a normal day look like?
All right. So just to give a brief, so Schneider Electric is involved in energy management and automation. Mm-hmm. And we serve four broad areas in the market. So it is in grid and infrastructure as one area. We also serve data centers. We serve buildings and industry. So as you might connect, all this is where we spend most of our time. And in all these sectors, you need energy. For us to sit here today, there's some lighting, there's some power that comes here. So what I'm responsible for within Schneider Electric business is energy solutions and automation solutions within industry business. Further, I can break that down further. Industry business is divided into four areas, but my prime responsibility are industry business in manufacturing sector. So if I'm to break it down, that's what I'll bring it to. And as I alluded to at the beginning, in all this sector, and particularly in manufacturing, there's a lot of energy that is required to consume a raw product into a finished product. For us to sit here today and drink this bottle of water, it's taken energy to make the bottle, to make the cup, to process the water, and to pack it and to deliver it here. So we are responsible in that value chain by creating energy solutions and automation solutions for the process. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, we'll be breaking that time when we get there in the second part of this conversation. Now, let's dial it back, Frank.
Okay.
People looking at you and saying, how did you find yourself in this space? And I wanted to begin from this perspective.
Yes.
When you're back in high school, that's where majority of people tend to realize themselves.
Yes.
And then I like this. Now you can be able to identify even some of the subjects that you would do and then say, I'm going to end up in the energy sector.
Yes.
Could you take me back to your high school and talk to me about it?
Okay, yes I can, with a lot of pleasure.
Yes.
So back in high school, and like you say quite correctly, you do not yet know where you want to land it, and you do not know where you can give most contribution. And apart from that, where does your passion really lie? I realized back then that I did not have a proper bearing, but I realized that eventually I would be more keen to make the world a better place and more efficient.
When we were that young?
Yes. How can we become... it's been there in me for a long time, but how can we make things better? How can we make... I mean, the story now is much, much different with the exposure that I've had.
Yes.
But how can we make things better than they were?
Just ask yourself that question when you're back in high school?
Yes,
which high school did you attend?
I went to Chebisas Boys High School in Eldoret.
Okay.
Yes. And I did not know that it would take a particular skill set or a particular mindset. But I always thought, look, there ought to be a better way that we can live in this planet. And it is that quest that eventually, you need to want something, and then you'll get a path towards it.
Yes.
And that's how we better that path.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Good. So you were in high school, you did graduate high school, and then went to university.
Yes.
Again, another confusing area where in the Kenyan system, maybe you might agree or disagree.
Yes.
When you go to university, you're told, Jimmy, you gotta read, you gotta study, you gotta pass, you gotta get the first class for you then to graduate into something.
Yes.
Could you tell me about your life in university?
So, well, university was also an interesting bit, and I think to a large extent shaped what I built as a career. I was very clear when I got just before high school that I wanted to become an engineer. What an engineer does or what engineering is all about was something that I was willing to get out out and learn. I mean, there was pressure back then, oh, why would you not want to become careers like a doctor or a lawyer? But I thought, look, I think some of the problems we have, as innocent as I could have been then, but having studied a lot of science, I've studied a lot of chemistry, a lot of physics back then, a lot of mathematics, I realized a lot of the solutions that we might want for a better future. And I envisaged that had to come through engineering. And when I went to college, just to learn, look, these are the different options, I went to Mo University and I studied a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. Yes. So that's a bit of my background, and I got a lot of interest back then in industrialization and what it is all about. And then I realized that, look, for us to transition from the economy we are in, where it was really basically basic production and subsistence, we need to add more value to what we produce. We need to make better of the resources we have. And in the end, we need to create a solution or products for the world. And that came through a value addition process, which describes industrialization as is. So it took a lot of interest and a lot of keenness, and I studied that with a lot of zeal. And every facet of that development built up to what I think bridges a gap of where we are today. And if we are to move from a developing economy, as we call it, to a more industrialized society, we need to take things from as they are raw to a packaged form for the globe. So we need to drive efficiency and competitiveness. Why is it that we're sitting here today and have a table or a door or a phone made in China or made in the US and brought in here? So that is what drove my interest. And for us to develop, we need to create value here. It means we can capture that value. And when we capture that value, we stand a better chance economically. That's what drove me along to college for my undergraduate. And later on, I realized that, yes, to make a big difference, you need to combine technical knowledge with business knowledge. So I got fortunate to have a lot of experience with global multinationals on different areas. We're talking about some of the biggest global companies.
Yes, I want to come back to that. Let me just take you a little bit back again to college. Here you are as an engineer, and then we do know what they say about engineers. Engineers have got no social life. They're always solving problems. Was that you back at Mo University?
No, not as such. Not as such. And sometimes a lot of people made comments that you don't look like one. I thought...
wait. What is
be that geek?
That's it. What is this? What is this image of an engineer that people have in their mind?
It's a lot to do with how most of them operate, how they are socialized, how they think. And a lot of them look, I need to get a solution. And for me, what cares most is what's this greatest innovation that I might be able to do. But I think I realized back then that in as great an innovation as it might be, there needs to be a consumer. And there needs to be a business behind it that's more sustainable. So I would not say that I was one of those people who stuck to themselves.
I'm an engineer,
I had a lot of social life. And, I think I enjoyed a lot being out there with people from other faculties, with people with different lines of thought. That very many people were surprised that this is the career path I've chosen to take.
All right, so let's talk about when this career then now started taking shape. And the people wait until they get to internships and attachment in the fields. What is this most notable attachment that right now, Frank, I know it's been many years down the line, that you look back and say, yes, that particular one is the one they cemented this belief that I'm in the right space and I want to continue. We have many stories of people saying, well, I started it, I changed it before I really settled on this one.
So, I mean, it was mandatory back then, and I think it's out of very good reasons that you're exposed, apart from classwork and the laboratory work that we did back then, that you're exposed to industry visits. I bring a big trajectory there. When you just start to connect, and this is very important today in industry, connect academia to practice. I find that as a gap, so that they are not very theoretical, sitting there and studying very complex equations, studying very complex algorithms, and not connecting to how then does that impact world. So for me, what really began to change is when we started making industrial visits. I might not remember all the industries we visited, but we visited a number of sectors in different areas. Manufacturing was some of them, infrastructure projects were some of them, industries, some of them back in the day. I remember going to attachments in industrial locations. So first of all, one was heavily into agro-processing. So there's a lot of mechanization. And back then, we were not talking a lot about digitalization, but it was mechanization was the key thing back then, and efficiency. So that was one thing. And then later on, I also got, and like you say, what really changed my perspective, again, was my second round when I was exposed to the downstream operation of an oil and gas business. And then I begin to connect now, technical and commercial expertise. Yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Good. Your career is gone now from university. You're saying, I'm going to be in mechanical engineering. I'm an engineer now. You're fully identifying. Let's talk about the formative periods then of your career. I know the title now, Head of Industry Business, looks very fancy. You're going to tell me exactly what your normal day in a day looks like. The first time you started to practice now as an engineer. Who was this Frank in the first few days as an engineer?
Well, I remember how I really started. I cannot remember how this. I met a gentleman who ran a business in construction and industrial supplies. I do not remember so much about the details of the conversation, but in 5 minutes, I was just out of college. In 5 minutes, he asked me whether I would want to join his company to be a salesman.
Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Just after college, you're among those lucky people who never got a hustle to look for work.
No. I did hustle to.
How long was that?
And I tell a lot of young people that it takes time.
It takes time
to identify yourself, and then to identify the niche, and then figure out what is it
that you really want to get into.
You really want to get. You really want to do that. So after my final attachment back then, I think it took a period between 6 to 8 months before I could get my first job, if I may call it. And this is a point of reflection, and I use this to encourage a lot of young people that look. Be clear on what you want, then build yourself around what is your value proposition, or why should it be you and not 10 other people who had similar qualifications or who have sent that CV, or hundreds these days who have sent that CV and who want to get...
With thousands.
Yes, thousands even. Sometimes I look thousands of that. So I think it was, I don't really believe in luck, but I believe in opportunity that meets preparedness. You have to be prepared, then the opportunity comes, then that you go for. So when this gentleman, I had figured out, look, I think I want to have a technical role based on my background, but I want to interface that with some commercial activity. And that's why when he gave me my first job as a sales engineer, I think he ticked the right box, and I thought, look, I think this is something that I can do.
Yes, a sales engineer. Yes. But what does that mean when somebody says I'm a sales engineer?
So when you're a sales engineer means you're offering a technical solution to an end user.
I see now.
Yeah?
I see now.
So, I first of all, you have to understand technically what is it that you're bringing in. Yeah? For example, I don't know, if this building today, it's hot, people need air conditioning. Just as an example, I need to understand that what is it that I'm selling. So you have to have that technical aptitude to understand that, look, this is the solution. How then do I match this with the need that the end user has? And then how then does he see the value for him to give you an order for that? So you offer a solution that's technical, that you have to have some technical understanding and also some commercial sense in it, so that then the guy is willing to pay that money to acquire that good or service.
Yes. Just a little bit now. I just want us to start teasing your current role as the head of industry business at Schneider Electric. The steps that you've taken since your first job as a sales engineer to where you are right now, have they been incremental, or you just been finding yourself at the right space at the right time?
No,
would you say?
It's been a gradual process.
Okay.
And I think every dot has connected to the other. The first job that I got led me to the second job that I got, to the third and the fourth, and every experience that I've had prior to that has built into where we are today. So it's been one step at a time, but the exposure you get, the networks you make, which is very important, and the kind of skills you acquire in the process build into your next job. Yes.
Good. A little bit again, Frank. Let's now touch on the sector that you find yourself in. That's the energy sector.
Yes.
People say that Kenya is not there yet in terms of exactly how we've exploited the opportunities in this sector. You're in a very critical area, digitization. And we're going to talk about that on a deeper level. Are they saying the truth that we have not really, that we're just scratching the surface when it comes to...
We are scratching the surface when we look at energy as a whole in its facet, in terms of what energy can do for us, in terms of exploiting the resources we have as an energy base. We are starting the journey, but this journey it's an incremental step. I mean, it doesn't happen. It's not a switch that you switch one day off to another. It's a transition. We are in that energy transition where we are utilizing more now. I mean, and Kenya is known for that, almost up to 80% of renewable energy resources. That's the story number one. Number two, how efficiently are we utilizing it? First of all, are we getting the energy where it's required?
Yes.
Are we efficiently utilizing it? And are we competitive in terms of the costs of production, generation, transmission, and distribution? Because at the end of the day, when you pay a bill, it's a factor of all those.
Yes. Would you, when you look back to the time that you officially came into this particular sector, that's the energy sector, would you say in any way that we met steps as a country when it comes to energy issues in the country?
Massive steps.
Massive steps?
Massive steps, I must say. We are talking now, like I've just mentioned, Kenya is almost 80% generating renewable energy resources. We've been improving our network transmissions. We've had programs by government and private sector as well. For example, last mile connectivity. We've had tariff differentiations between industrial consumers and home consumers. We are talking more, as we see now, more and more people are becoming prosumers. What are prosumers? You are generating power and consuming that power. So we see industrial applications generating energy. Solar, you see solar grids coming up all over. We're exploiting wind energy, for example. And when I look at it from a macro and micro scale, we are becoming more efficient in terms of having better technologies in generation, even better technologies in transmission and distribution. Our homes today, we are talking about LED lightings like the ones I'm seeing here. So we're becoming more efficient in how we consume energy. We're becoming more aware how important energy consumption is in the day-to-day running of our economies today. I mean, we live virtually in a connected world. I'm sure, Simba, if your phone is off for an hour or 30 minutes, you feel
that's a crisis.
So all this is contributing to how we live today and how the energy transition has been. And we've seen massive investment from government, private sector, and we've seen technology players like ourselves who bring the technology to make all this happen, becoming more and more visible and more vibrant.
Yes. Frank, I want to ask you this question just before we take a tiny break and then come back and talk about Schneider Electric.
Okay.
You woke up this morning.
Yes.
But let me not talk about this morning because you woke up knowing that you're coming here. Yesterday.
Yes.
Just take a minute to answer that. Paint for me a picture of how your day started and ended yesterday at Schneider Electric as the head of industry business.
Yes. So, like I said, I'm responsible for a section of the industry business called consumer packaged goods. In layman terms, manufacturing. I would like to use that term. So every day, I interact with customers, industrial end users who are looking for energy efficient solutions for their operations. Either they are building a new facility or they are expanding their facility. So either they're looking for energy management solutions, how do you get power or energy into our facility, or they are looking to automate their processes. So on a daily basis, I deal with what I would call end users in this segment, which are industrial in nature, that are looking for better ways to manage their energy or automating their processes. And why is this the case? Why do you want to manage this? Because like I said, at the end of the day, it's about their competitive advantages, or how competitive are they in the marketplace. So they are looking at better ways to manage their energy or to automate their processes so that then they can have better quality products for their end customers every day. So every day I speak to clients. You asked me about yesterday. I had the honor until about 6 p.m. yesterday evening talking to clients who are in different stages of businesses but looking at more efficient ways to manage energy and automation within their facility. I do that on a daily basis.
Therefore, the entire digitization process, that's what it meant.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Oof. guess what? We're just getting started. We are with Frank. He's the head of industry business. Yes. He's in the energy sector, and he runs under Schneider Electric. Once we come back, we should be knowing who Schneider Electric is, what they're really trying to achieve. Also, get to dig deeper into the personal life of Frank right here at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. Once we come back.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.
Usienda nayo huko ndani, unaacha hapo kwa lake ndio uingie.
Ni wacho kwa lake namna gani nataka kutumia huko ndani? Nimekuja na hii gani ndio inatumika? Hii paketi ama hii kuchota? Kwani serious hii? Bwana wacheni mchezo bwana. Nini nyinyi?
Karibu customer. Hizi bidhaa unaziacha pale kwenye luggage ndipo ufanye shopping kwa supermarket yetu. Kuchota ni kufanya shopping pekee.
Ni kufanya shopping.
Raundi hii chota kuchota mapema na Hetia Supermarket ndio best. Kwa mara nyingine tena Hetia Supermarket inakuletea chota kuchota na Hetia Supermarket. Kushiriki shindano la chota kuchota ni rahisi. Ingia tu Hetia Supermarket iliyo karibu nawe Kitale, Bungoma, Eldoret, Kakamega, Kisumu, Busia, Naivasha, Limuru, Nairobi, Thika, Nyeri, Meru, Chuka na Maua. Nunua bidhaa ya shilingi 600 na zaidi na utapewa raffle ticket. Jaza vizuri na utumbukize kwa sanduku iliyo mlangoni. Utakuwa umeingia kwa draw ya kujishindia zawadi kama gari 7 aina Daihatsu Mira, pikipiki 21 aina ya TVS, 1130 school fees, TVS, microwaves, shopping vouchers na vingine vingi.
Bas, ni huku. Saidia mimi.
Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Louis Bacon, Savannah Juice Fruit Vial, My Choice Hand Wash, Zesta Choco Primo, Ketepa, Blue Band, Aramco, Oven Fresh Bread, Nivea, Silent Night Mattresses, Coca-Cola pamoja na Hisense. Shindano hili limeidhinishwa na BCLB permit number 002816. Sheria na masharti kutumika.
Chota kuchota na Hetia Supermarket, na hii motokaa gari smart kabisa inaweza kuwa yako. Unangoja nini? Ingia, fanya shopping yako Hetia Supermarket, uchoto kuchote na hii gari, hii motokaa inaweza kuwa yako. Mtu anaweza pesha kwa buti.
Hetia Supermarket, a world of choice.
Bwana Richard, naona umeanza biashara.
Bwana. Kwambia, nilinunua hii mashini kutoka Makige Engineering. Inapunguza gharama ya ujenzi by 50%.
At 50 what?
50% bwana. Ona vijana wapata kazi. Wanatengeneza blocks 500 kwa siku. Na naendelea na biashara.
Ala, siri ya ujenzi, siri ni Makiga.
Buy your Makiga soap.
So mimi nilikuwa mmoja wa timu kubwa ya Arsenal na ngojea mazao yake.
Na bila shaka mpenzi mtazamaji, ni awamu nyingine tena ya bunge la mwenyeji ambapo tunasikia tu maoni ya wenyeji hasa wananchi wa kawaida. Je, maoni ni yapi?
Anakuambia wananchi ndio kila kitu. Unaona dips na system ni wananchi. Unaona vile wamenyorosha watu bwana.
Tumeng'oa nanga kwenye bunge la mwenyeji.
So ile kitu nasema tunamuomba asituachilie.
Beautiful, wonderful, glorious. We are having the show that we share entitled Shepherd Voice.
I'm waiting for you to get me to Kenya. That's what I'm waiting
for you.
God is the source of every blessings that flow into your life.
And I know that God is going to bless you and to do a new thing.
Pray, 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 pray.
Hapa kazi tu inaendelea kuwasaka na kuwatambua wale ambao wanafanya kazi extraordinary na zile kazi za kujituma.
Biashara yote unaambiangwa, as long as you have a plan, you can do it. Our service is about to pressure the customer.
Mpenzi mtazamaji, hii ni hapa kazi tu.
Ni wakati wa mkutano. Jioni kwenye kamati ya kijiji.
Hadithi hii ilianza mwaka 1991.
Vipi kuhusu ngano kwenye shamba langu kikauka? Haina haja. Tutakupa kwa njia pia tukapuje.
Mkoa unaojiendesha wa Ningxia ulitekeleza sera ya makazi mapya ya kuhamisha watu wa maeneo yenye umaskini ya Xiaigu ili waweze kujikimu.
Ninatumaini sana kwamba siku moja jangwa hapa litakuwa kijani kibichi na mji wetu wa Mining utakuwa na miundombinu kamili.
Welcome back. My name is Simba Elijah Charles Kiage. Be part and parcel of this conversation right now at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. We are with Frank Moy, who is the head of industry business, Schneider Electric. For the very first time now, Frank.
Yes.
This is the first time that we're talking about Schneider now.
Yes.
Schneider Electric? Who are you, for any other person who wants to understand what you're doing in the energy sector in the country, and who are you particularly targeting?
So, well, pleasure once more. So Schneider Electric is a global leader in energy management and automation solutions.
Yes.
We are present globally in about 100 different geographies. Locally here, Schneider Electric acquired a local company that was more than 25 years old called Power Techniques 7 years ago.
Yes.
We're based out of Nairobi, but we serve the entire Eastern African market. We have colleagues in different parts of Eastern Africa, Ethiopia, the Tanzanias, the Uganda, so which serve the local market here. We're in 4 different distinct areas, if I may call it. One is in data centers. We use a lot of data today, and to power that economy, we need a lot of data centers. So we're active in data centers. We're active in grid and infrastructure. So, for example, if you generate power today in Takwel, you need the power in Nairobi. So there's that whole grid that connects that. And you also need to build an SGR or a railway between here and Mombasa, for example. So that kind of business requires energy.
Yes.
We're also in buildings where we spend a lot of our time in. We're sitting in a building today. You need energy in a building like today. And then sector where I work is in industry, which industry is further divided into 4 areas. I will not get into the details of that. I'm responsible for one, which part of industry, which is in manufacturing. Industry can also be oil and gas, for example. It can also be mining, metals and minerals.
Yes.
And it can also be water and wastewater. So those are the different sectors in industry that we work in.
I want to ask you the next question in this particular area, by the way, and you're in a very critical sector that any other government has come on board, Frank, I know you do know that, has said that we need to unlock the manufacturing sector.
Absolutely.
But then, specifically, because I'm going to ask you about industrialization 4.0.
Absolutely.
In this regard.
Yes.
Is it something that we're trying to figure or we've started? Because then every other manufacturer in the country is talking about the cost of doing business. And one thing stands out, Frank.
Yes.
Cost of energy.
Absolutely.
So talk to me about that in respect to industrialization 4.0.
Yes.
Are we chasing shadows as a country when we're talking about industrialization 4.0 and this unlocking of the manufacturing sector, especially on energy cost?
Yes. Well, it's a long topic. We can have a whole list.
I know. Yes.
I want to break it down into industrialization is a process that takes steps. We all know there have been 4 steps of industrial revolution, from agrarian revolution to beginning steam engines to engine, and then electrification is a further. Then industrialization, Industry 4.0 today is about digitalization. And when we talk about digitalization, it's digitalization or digitization.
It is. Hold on, digitalization.
It's not digital. It is digitalization.
Okay.
Yes. So it's about connecting everything in the process. So again, what is Schneider Electric? Maybe I can also delve a little bit. Schneider Electric's purpose is to empower all to make the most of our energy and resources. Yeah? But how do we do that? We do that by becoming your partner for digitalization and sustainability. Yeah, so those could be big words, but let me break it down. That today, and we've said very clearly, we had Vision 20 by 30 launched by the President the other day, whose whole purpose is to do what? Is to make sure that our economy, manufacturing sector grows to over 20% contribution to GDP by 2030. At the moment, you're at about 7%, a paltry 7%. And why is this important? It's because the value chain in manufacturing sector has a trickle-down effect or impacts every sector of the economy. Yeah, people get more jobs, farmers get markets to their products, we are able to buy locally produced material, we consume more energy. If we build 10 factories here, we're talking about thousands of people being employed. So the effect of that ripples down to other sectors of the economy is very critical. Instead of us buying, I'll take a basic product, milk from Uganda. If we produce that milk by a factory right here in Lavington, we've created employment for the youth, we've created the market for the farmers, we have employed people to do distribution, we have products in supermarkets, so the trickle-down effects, and everybody in the value chain gets a piece of the pie. So that's why it's very important. Now, on digitalization or Industry 4.0,
yes,
we are there, I would say, but it is a journey that takes time. And this journey takes, and I mean, it's an investment that is required. We see customers or partners that we deal with every day in that journey. Not everybody is at the same phase of growth, but it's a step-by-step process that takes time and also knowledge on what the impact of Industry 4.0 is.
Yes.
But why are people adopting Industry 4.0 digitalization today? Again, in this sector of manufacturing, it's about competitiveness. If I can produce a liter of juice at a shilling less than you, means I can transfer that benefit to the end customer. What is the impact of that? I'm driving more competitiveness. I mean, if I was supposed to sell X amount, I'm going to sell X plus 10. So that means my business is more competitive than my competitor. Why? Because I have adopted digitalization to drive my processes and become more efficient.
Yes. Point in case, Frank, that you partner with these particular manufacturers.
Yes.
Talk to them about sustainability, which essentially again comes back to cost.
Yes.
Do do you have solutions? And people are saying that in this country we are lagging behind, where we give solutions and then 5 years later we come back, there's another solution in the market. 6 years later, there's another solution in the market.
Yes.
Do you think that is what is ailing the energy sector in the country, in the sense of that we don't have long-term viable solutions that we can push to these manufacturers and say, well, this is a long-term solution that we as Schneider know very well is going to last you an entirety?
So what we do, and that's why I began by saying we have a global review and a global approach.
Yes.
And I'll tell you today, the technology we deploy here is as best as it comes the world over. We are in different stages of adoption, and all this comes to at what stage of development are we? We must admit we're in an emerging economy. It's a process, and digitalization is not only about machines, it's about, in the end, digitalization is about people. It's about how do we adopt technology from an investment point of view? How do we adapt technology from a usability point of view? We have customers today or manufacturers today who have adopted Industry 4.0 in their facets of operation. And like I said, it's a journey that you continue to implement. You continue to make processes more automated. Talk about manufacturing, which is a sector that I work in every day. If, let's say, a simple process, I produce milk, which we know we all need every day, how have I connected my processes from the market? I know how much demand there is in the market today. Tomorrow, I have a projection for the year. How is that connecting to the processes that I have here to produce that, to my value chain, if it's from the farm all the way up? And how am I using all this information to drive my business and to make decisions on what to invest in, how many people to employ, how many farmers to engage, for example, what kind of products to produce for the market, and at what cost? That's the whole digitalization when we talk about that sector, because you're coming the entire value chain. You have to make decisions out of information, not a gut feeling that I think this is what we need. No. That's the transition.
As an individual who talks to manufacturers every single day, trying to talk to them about digitalization and sustainability, do you find that cost is the defining factor to the adoption of these solutions right here in the country?
Yes, cost is an important. There are a number of important factors. Number one, cost. I'm not saying that any one of them is not important. Number two, quality. When you adopt digitalization, you have a better and more consistent quality.
Yes.
Number three, what generation is getting into employment today? The 25-year-olds you talk about. These are Gen Zs, and Generation X are even getting out of. So these people are used to so much digitalization in the world. If I'm to attract you to come and work in my company, it needs to be a comfortable environment. So how do you then manage the workforce? Another thing that's driving is also regulation. Regulation today demands that we have to be more digitalized, because show me where you produce, at what cost, and what is the source of your raw materials. So you have to have track and trace possibilities to be able to do that. Compliance. Tomorrow KEBS asks you, we want to give you a certificate, but we want to know what quality steps you took along the way. That drives digitalization. The sustainability. We live in a world here today that the population is growing at a very fast rate. In Kenya here, for example, they say the population is growing, or in sub-Saharan Africa where we live, double the world population growth rate. If the world population is growing at 1.3%, we are growing at almost 2.6%. Our rate of urbanization has never been seen before. More people live in this city every day than they lived the previous day. If we're going to grow population, we're going to urbanize as fast as we are, it has to be a sustainable business. And the greatest lever for that, in my considered opinion, is an even faster acceleration on digitalization to enable us meet the demands. Remember, not that land is a factor that's limited. Production can only be limited to certain resources. But the key thing driving digitalization today is how much more efficient can we be in producing that? How much more less costs can I use to produce this? And that's an onus for us, for generations that come after us. What are we going to leave this planet for the people that come? If we're going to destroy all the natural resources, then what is it going to be of benefit to future generations? And had our forefathers done that, we would not have been here today. So that's what drives us every day, and that's why digitalization is not a luxury. It's not a journey that we can say Industry 4.0 is only for the developer. We have to adopt it. We have to have adopted it yesterday.
Yesterday.
Exactly.
I like the
day before.
Like the way you say that. I want to take you back a little bit, Frank. For somebody started looking at you as an engineer now, who's working in a very important sector within the economy. Are you all about energy and sustainability and digitalization? How do you find your own purpose in life?
My own purpose in life?
That's a tough question, though.
Yes. I've been asked that as well before. I don't really look myself, I think as much as I have a background as an engineer and working in energy, as only obsessed by that. No, I think later on in life, and the exposure that I've had in life has made me connected. At the end of the day, it's making the world a better place. And I got later on in life, when I went to business school, I realized purpose in life has to be all largely about what impact do you leave behind.
As an individual?
As an individual, in whatever facet you do. As an individual, how can I make the world better today? What's my contribution to making the world better today? And at the end of the day, it's not about the very technical, very hard questions. But if I may use the term that we use here at Kenya quite often, how is what I'm doing today making life Wanjiku tomorrow better? Or the Wanjiku that will come after that? I see. And at the end of the day, it has to be, can they access what they require to run their day-to-day life easier, better, and more affordable? Energy plays a critical part in that, but digitalization as well connects all this together. So it's not about businesses making more money, but how do we make the planet better for everyone? How do we empower everyone to be able to achieve at least the basics of what they need every day? Yes.
Are you driven by your career, Franco? There's something different that drives you, then your career becomes part of that drive.
I'm driven more by the need and the hope that we can leave this planet better for the generations that come after us. It's just that I happen to have taken this career path, and that's why I do what I do every day, to contribute to making that better. How do we make our world more sustainable? How do I make it more affordable for Wanjiku to get a glass of milk tomorrow, or for Simba to get a glass of juice after this interview? How do we bring the resources that make that possibility possible? How do you sit here in a more comfortable room today and not sweating because it's too hot? So solutions that drive livability and to a large extent comfort in life is what drives me every day. I would do that every morning when I wake up. I'll be driven by that.
Yeah, but which was my next question.
Yes.
Are you one of those people who say it's another day for work, or it's another day to serve?
It is another day to serve, and like I've said before, it's another day to make our world better. Would be my mantra.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. Let's look at East Africa, because I know Schneider is also on that area as well in your umbrella of a business. Yes, you would look at Kenya and say we're just scratching the surface, but when you look at East Africa, where are we? What are the opportunities that we've not really looked at yet?
The massive opportunities. And so earlier on I said, look, if we only look at how fast our population is growing and how fast urbanization is growing, this is happening across all the geographies. We are different phases. When I look at electrification and energy penetration in Kenya, largely due to government initiatives and whatever, we say access to electricity as a matrix is almost about 71%. 71% reasonably can access electricity.
Yes.
But in different parts of Eastern Africa, if we only stick to Eastern Africa, but we cannot still make it at a wider scale, but let's stick to the conversation of Eastern Africa today. Different countries are in different phases of electrification. We talk about 71% here in Kenya. You find other countries like Tanzania would be talking about 40%, maybe Uganda 50%, and we have geographies like Ethiopia at also maybe another 50%. South Sudan, for example, 7-10% of electrification. That tells you the challenge we need to bridge. So the region is growing at different phases based on very many different circumstances, but the potential is there. We have massive resources to be able to generate electricity. But do you know for a fact today that over 60% of energy generated goes into waste? And that's where digitalization comes in and what we drive at Schneider Electric.
Yes.
How can we make the best of the resources that we generate today? And if you generate 60% power from, let's say, charcoal, and 60% of it is wasted before it gets to serve us here in Nairobi, for example, for the matter of where we are today. How do we make this better? And making this better is by making it more connected, and that is what it brings about digitalization. And when we talk about Industry 4.0, it's not only in manufacturing space, it's from the generation to the transmission to the distribution and how we even consume energy at our homes. So we have a huge gap to bridge, and energy is a path to dignity, if I may say. I mean, having energy means you can have lighting, children can go to school. Energy drives you from here. You have a meeting this afternoon and the rest. You need energy to make that transition. And we're talking about electric cars, or we're talking about any other form of transport, even if it's a petroleum-driven engine. It's energy that takes you from point A to point B. It's energy that makes you be able to produce food. It's energy that makes you grow the economy. So that's why it's the center of what we do every day. Yeah.
People in Korea, they normally have a timeline, or they say, well, obviously I'm in the private sector, I don't have to abide by retirement ages. If I could ask you, in just a minute or so, paint for me a picture of your career in this particular sector in 20 years to come.
Well, in 20 years to come...
I'm not going to ask you whether you're going to be CEO.
No. Again, that can be part of the process.
It can be part of the process.
I've always had this bearing in mind. But in 20 years to come, I look myself to have made more contribution in this particular sector of industrialization and automation space. I have a particular keen interest now even to do research on how we can accelerate the entire digitalization in our context, and specifically looking at the manufacturing sector. I believe we need more than just private industry players to do this. We will need government contribution. We will need the masses to be aware of. And if you ask me 20 years from now, I strongly believe I need to make much more contribution directly into the industrialization of our nation.
And that's it.
And I've gathered enough expertise, I've gathered enough experience, I've seen what it takes, I know what it takes to do that. Putting those bits and pieces to have bigger impact, be it becoming an industrialist, for example, or driving the industrialization agenda at a wider scale. That's where I see myself 10, 20 years from today.
Frank.
Yes.
Thank you very much for making time.
Well. Thank you as well.
This was lovely.
It was a pleasure.
It was lovely.
It was a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Now that is Frank Moy, who's the head of business, Schneider Electric, actually head of industry business. Let me be very specific. Schneider Electric. This has been another successful episode. Next week, we'll meet you again with another one. My name is Elijah Charles King again. See ya. See you next week. That's it.
Good to have you join us on Heart to Heart.
We bring you stories of people who, despite the pressures they experienced, still trusted God to see them through.
The seeds that was sown in me helped me navigate and overcome that period of my life.
New testimonies, new insights, and even better revelation of the good things God has in store for us.
There is always a blessing waiting for someone in every episode.
Call people, shall call people to come to the house of God.
Can some of y'all run down here to the front real quick? I gotta know who's in the building. Where my islanders?
Come, let us return to the Lord. Jehovah, you are our healer. You are Jehovah Roveka. You are Jehovah Tisidikenu. You are Jehovah Mekadish.
Say it.
should really try this.
Usienda nayo huko ndani, unaacha hapo kwa luggage ndio uingie.
Ni wacho kwa luggage namna gani nataka kutumia huko ndani? Nimekuja na hii gani ndio inatumika? Hii paketi ama hii kuchota? Kwani serious hii? Bwana wacheni mchezo bwana. Nini nyinyi?
Karibu customer. Hizi bidhaa unaziacha pale kwenye luggage ndipo sasa ufanye shopping kwa supermarket yetu. Kuchota ni kufanya shopping pekee.
Ni kufanya shopping.
Raundi hii chota kuchota mapema na Hetia Supermarket ndio best. Kwa mara nyingine tena Hetia Supermarket inakuletea chota kuchota na Hetia Supermarket. Kushiriki shindano la chota kuchota ni rahisi. Ingia tu Hetia Supermarket iliyo karibu nawe Kitale, Bungoma, Eldoret, Kakamega, Kisumu, Busia, Naivasha, Limuru, Nairobi, Thika, Nyeri, Meru, Chuka na Maua. Nunua bidhaa ya shilingi 600 na zaidi na utapewa raffle ticket. Jaza vizuri na utumbukize kwa sanduku iliyo mlangoni. Utakuwa umeingia kwa draw ya kujishindia zawadi kama gari 7 aina Daihatsu Mira, pikipiki 21 aina ya TVS, 1130 school fees, TVS, microwaves, shopping vouchers na vingine vingi.
Basi, ni huku. Saidia bibi.
Chota kuchota imethaminiwa na Iwe Bacon, Savannah Juice Fruit Vile, My Choice Hand Wash, Zesta Choco Primo, Ketepa, Blue Band, Aramco, Oven Fresh Bread, Nivea, Silent Night Mattresses, Coca-Cola pamoja na Hisense. Shindano hili limeidhinishwa na BCLB permit number 002816. Sheria na masharti kutumika.
Chota kuchota na Hetia Supermarket, na hii motokaa gari smart kabisa inaweza kuwa yako. Unangoja nini? Ingia, fanya shopping yako Hetia Supermarket, uchoto kuchote na hii kari, hii motokaa inaweza kuwa yako. Mtu anaweza pesa kwa buta.
Hetia Supermarket, a world of choice.
Vera Beauty and Fashion College is focused on being the leading technical and vocational training institute in the region. Our team possesses in-depth knowledge and extensive experience in the industry, offering thorough training in cosmetology, hairdressing, interior design, creative arts, training of trainers, nail technology, and fashion design. With branches in Nairobi, Thika, Meru, Eldoret, and now in Mombasa, our courses ensure that learners are completely equipped with knowledge, competency, and employability skills. Enroll today to be a part of a center of excellence.